the top of the Empire State Building.
Z100, New York.
Emerging from Florida, she has swiftly ascended the country music scene with her debut album, Shot in the Dark. Features the top charting single, Your Place, which not only secured her first #1 on country radio, but also dominated the UK radio charts. And she was recognized at the CMT Awards for Breakthrough Female Video of the Year, earned a nomination for ACM New Female Artist of the Year with almost 500 million global streams. Her rise and compelling artistry has solidified her in country music and in the music industry as a whole. Our last year's iHeartRadio On the Verge artist, please welcome Ashley Cooke.
Hello. Thank you for the hype up track. I love it. I love it so much.
though?
Yeah, so many cool things that have happened the last couple of years for sure. It's nuts. It's so fun.
How
So
does
glad to be
and
here.
this isn't something that just came out of nowhere. I mean, you've been working at this
For a long time.
You and your siblings, I know you guys grew up like in the TV scene.
Yeah, kind of. I have a crazy kind of workaround story. I started in this when I was 11 years old, and my older sister and I did a duo together for a long time, and that took us out to LA and to Nashville and kind of all over the place. And
So you were working with your older sister,
Yeah.
and you were playing. What were you doing?
yeah, we were playing music. We had a full-blown duo that we were releasing music under. We were so young, though. I think I was 11 and 12, so the music was very much about like school crushes and all of that stuff. But yeah, it's crazy. It's like a different lifetime, and none of that's online anymore. So it's kind of like legitimately a different lifetime that no longer exists. But it really is how I got my footing in this industry and learned how to perform and do all of the things that I'm doing now.
Did you have those videos on like a camcorder or on your phones? Like, is there any way to get those?
I think we have them in a drive somewhere. I don't
Yeah,
really know
yeah,
how,
I know.
but I'm sure there's somebody posted something on YouTube at some point. I'm sure that's out there, but yeah, it's funny. We kind of wiped it all down as soon as I started this other career because I was like, all right, that was a different lifetime. So
Dude, that's me. When I moved here to New York, I was like, I need to scrub all my podcasts.
Everything.
Like, that was not me.
I'm like,
I
don't
know
look
who
at
she
it.
is.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun to go look back and see kind of where I started on it all, but I feel like I'm in just a different chapter in my life now, so just different. I want to kind of wipe the internet of that stuff. Yeah.
No, it'd be like that. It'd be
Yeah.
like that. But you've even said in your TikTok, I loved watching the 10 things about you.
Yeah.
That you grew up with like the Cyrus family and the Hudgens family.
Yeah.
And even though to you that was normal,
Yeah.
when you kind of took a step back, you thought that's
It
kinda
is
crazy.
It is so weird to think back on because, again, we moved out to LA pretty young and we were in that duo and kind of working a different brand, a sister duo in that sense. And LA was a different time back then. I went to school with Noah Cyrus and Brazen and Miley and all these people and Stella Hudgens. And it was weird, though, because it wasn't. Now when I meet people like that, it's networking as artists and becoming friends as adults. But back then, we just went to school together. So it was just a different world. But I was exposed to it really young to see kind of like all the paparazzi stuff and how being a child star impacted them. And it was really interesting to be a part of and kind of like introduced me to this world very young.
What was the school with celebrities like that like?
It was bizarre. It was honestly, okay, I
Is there
forget
big
what it was called.
classes or what?
No, so it was a K through 12 school, professional school, and we all went. Everybody was somehow in entertainment, acting, music, whatever it was. I was kind of there because my sister was more into acting, and then I got into it later on. But it was like a professional school for kids who were young working professionals, and so there was maybe 2 kids per grade, K through 12. It was in an old bank building. And our lunch hour was at the Carl's Jr. across the street. It was very much almost like we went to work as kids, just going to school. We had uniforms, but it was very, maybe 30 kids max, maybe.
Oh my gosh.
crazy.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't know. The whole school.
The whole school.
K through 12.
Yeah, and it was,
Wow.
young. It was literally K through 12. I think we had like a kid in each grade. It was wacky.
But
I
would
don't
you
know.
go in every day?
Every day. Yeah, unless you had a project that you're working on, that you had to like bring a tutor to the school. But it was kind of like with public schools, you have truancy problems with kids that are in entertainment because they aren't supposed to miss certain classes. And so this school was built specifically for kids in entertainment where you could go on set for 2 months and then come back to school for a couple months and go back and forth and didn't have the problems with the state. So crazy. Yeah. Weird to think about now that I was like in that world because I kind of just got thrown into it really young. I don't even know if that's still a school now. I would be curious to know. Yeah.
But you decided to keep your higher education. You went to Belmont University. And
did.
why did you decide to keep going at it with school?
Yeah, I think for me, because I started in it so young with my sister and doing all of that stuff, my parents moved to Florida for high school, so I spent some of my high school in Florida. And I was just like, man, I've been in this for so long. So much of my childhood was spent, touring and in this world. I kind of want to be normal for a few years and go to college and experience what it's like to join a sorority and, be a major that has nothing to do with music. I was a communications and marketing major. So totally kind of departed from music for about 3.5 years. And then my senior year, I applied for this thing at Belmont called the Country Showcase, which people like Brad Paisley have won in the past and Florida Georgia Line. And I was like, you know what? I have all of this experience from when I was a kid. I'm just going to apply and see what happens. And I got in and I won. And it kind of started this whole new chapter of a solo career in my adult years.
So when you won that showcase, what did that do? Did it put you in rooms? Did it get you talking? Did it just light a fire under you?
That's a great question. I think it honestly just gave me the confidence to know, hey, as an adult, I could do this. I really think I could do this because the panel of judges that were judging the competition were industry professionals and people that, meant a lot to the industry that were telling me, hey, we think you have something here. You should give this a shot. And I think that, people come into your life in specific moments and give you that confidence right when you need it the most. And I was kind of in that crossroads of, do I go work a marketing job with my degree or do I try this thing as an adult full time? My sister moved on to do a different job and now she's in acting and doing all of that stuff. And yeah, I think it just gave me that confidence in the moment to go, okay, people see this in me still. I should just give this a shot. And all of this has happened since then. So
wow.
Crazy. Yeah.
So then you kept writing and you kept working and you were networking with people where in LA and
mainly Nashville. Yeah, honestly.
Yep.
So I graduated in 2019, right at the end of 2019, 2020 timeframe. And I told myself, okay, you're going to give it a year. Give it a year, have my parents help me get through this year financially, like have to, figure it out. And I was like, I'm just going to go network my butt off. I'm going to go to all of the shows. I'm going to play shows. I'm going to write in rooms. I'm going to go to all the bars that all these writers are at and make friends and do all of this stuff. And of course, notoriously, the pandemic in 2020 happened. And so I couldn't do any of that. And I was kind of back to the drawing board of, okay, so I want to pursue this career, but I don't know how to do it because traditionally the way that people have done it is what I just said. They go to the bars and they network, and I couldn't do any of that. And so I went down to South Florida where my parents were living at the time and kind of just was like, you know what? Everybody's posting on this TikTok thing. Let me just post something based off all of the years of experience that I've had. Let me just put something up on TikTok. And the first video that I posted was this challenge called the Lay Me Down Challenge that one of my friends posted and I saw, and I was like, I'm just going to give it a shot. Posted it, and it got like over 2 million views right off the bat.
I saw that you got like 2.7 million views.
Yeah.
So then did you get mad followers just off that first TikTok?
For sure. Yeah. And I think that TikTok's kind of changing now where like followers don't necessarily equate with views. But back in 2020, it was very much like I got the 2.7 or whatever million just off the bat views. And because of that, I just started to have this massive influx of fans. And so I spent most of the pandemic learning when to post, how to post, what's the initial like grab from the video, how do you go live, like learning all of that because that's all I really could do to pursue music at the time.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then were you, obviously like collabing with other TikTokers and
Yeah.
at that time everyone was bubbling up kind of at the
Right.
same time. So did you make some friends there in the sphere that
100%. Yeah, actually, I started this thing called the 615 House. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it was kind of like the Nashville country version of the Hype House, if you will. And I'd seen the Hype House, which now Taylor Holder's a great friend of mine, and people in the Hype House and I are great friends. But I had seen this, and I was like, man, I think that people care about Nashville and the songwriters and the artists in this town. Why not bring some of these people that have been killing it on TikTok, like Priscilla Block and Cooper Allen and people that had been doing really great on TikTok? Why not bring them into the house, Alexandra Kay? And we created this network of young aspiring country artists on TikTok that came together and made videos, and it did what it did, and it really kind of, from there we all got record deals and have gone on to do, what we're doing now. So
how did you align your guys, the 616 house?
615. It's like the area
house?
code in
Yeah.
Nashville,
How did you align that when in that time a lot of those houses were really toxic and like negative,
Yeah.
but you guys ended up getting record deals?
100%, yeah.
How did you, what was your alignment with that?
I wasn't in the Hype House to know what that culture was all about, but I do know with the 615 House, we all had a common passion for music. It wasn't just about, gaining followers and the social...
The clout.
Clout. Yeah, it wasn't about that. Of course, it was cool to see people caring about us collaborating, but it was more so the fact that we all had a dream with music, and that was we all had a common goal of what we were trying to get to. And so I think that maybe helped a lot with none of us were competitive or weird, or it was just a really good vibe, and we all knew what we wanted to do with that going forward. I don't know if they could say the same with High Pass. I don't know. So maybe that's really kind of what was different with us. Also just Nashville, the community, the through line of that town. It's just good people creating really great music, and it's just different. Maybe that's the difference too. LA versus Nashville. I'm not sure. Yeah.
And then within that year, you got ready to drop your first project.
I did.
Already Drink That Beer, which is that's a big step to actually like put out your first project. This is who I am. This is what I'm stapling myself as an artist.
Absolutely.
So what was going through your head when you were working on putting it out?
Man, it was nerve-wracking.
I
won't lie. I mean, anytime you release music, it's nerve-wracking because you're kind of saying, here's my heart and soul. Tell me what you think.
Here's
you know?
who I am.
Yeah,
Like
it's definitely scary. And especially after, even though I had so many years of experience in the music industry, coming into it, a lot of the initial, who is this girl, came from TikTok, which labeled me as a TikTok artist a lot in that 2020 timeframe. And so I think for me, I would always say when somebody asked me, is it a negative thing to be considered a TikTok artist, all those things back in 2020? And I said, you know what? No, because like Justin Bieber was a YouTube artist. Luke Combs was a Vine artist. It doesn't matter what platform it is people find you on. It's what you do past that point, and it's making music that translates past that point that matters. And so for me, releasing Already Drank That Beer was kind of that initial, do I have what it takes to get people on and off this app to care about what I'm doing and make it, not just a TikTok project, if you will. And I think that we did that pretty successfully. So
I think you did too.
Thank you.
And then as you're trying to form yourself as an artist, and like you're saying, like not just what people are labeling me as a TikTok artist,
right.
We see that you do your first TV appearance, like Kelly Clarkson show was this huge.
Yeah.
With Brett Young. What was going in your mind when that was going on? Because now you're not just on the phone screen, like
100%
you're on national TV.
Yeah, that one I think was The Bachelorette, actually, with Brett, which was so cool. It was definitely bizarre, and I feel like Brett was one of the first artists to really take a bet on collaborating with me. He collaborated with me before I ever signed a record deal. Like that was all before that happened. That was my first release with my record label.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think really I'm a person of faith, and I really think that all of this was aligned the way that it needed to be, in the sense of I didn't just post a video on social media and all of a sudden opportunities started to happen and I had no experience to know how to walk into those rooms and what to do. Obviously, I still, the last, 5 years now, have been figuring it out and growing as just a person and also as an artist and how I want to walk into rooms and how I want to carry myself. But I do think that, the initial Bachelorette performance and then the Kelly Clarkson show with Brantley Gilbert and all this stuff, it's just been in the Today Show. I mean, all these cool TV opportunities, they're all different pockets of the world, just like this. It's all different pockets of different worlds. Mm-hmm. But if I can stay consistent with who I am and what I want to say throughout all of it, that's all that matters to me. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. And I also want to know why country is so special to you, especially when you're growing up around these artists that you see like Miley Cyrus popping off in pop, right. But you decided that country was what your passion was. Was that what you and your older sister were writing, or?
Kind of, yeah. Honestly, so my just little backstory. My parents are high school sweethearts from Fort Wayne, Indiana. They're very much Midwestern, the sweetest, most amazing people. Still together to this day. They met when they were 15 and 17. They're incredible. And I was actually born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I have a crazy story of how I moved around all the time. But moving to LA really young, my parents were kind of the outliers because they were the sweet, kind of innocent Midwestern people among a crazy city of LA. So I think that my sister and I just really kind of lent ourselves to like the morals of what country music stands for, the community. And also I fell in love with like Taylor and Rascal Flatts really young. I started loving the lyrics behind it and the storytelling nature of what country is and what it means to the community. So when I started writing songs at 10 or 11, it wasn't that I was chasing country. It just felt like what I had to say and the way that I wanted to say it, it was country music. It was storytelling. It was from the soul. I'm working with Dan Huff on my next record, and he even said in the studio a couple days ago, your music is just soul music. And I'm not talking R&B. I'm talking like it just hits me in my soul. And that is country. That it really is what sets our genre apart from others, is that you just really, you feel the story and you feel like you're in the story. And so that's kind of always just been the case from 27 to 10 or 11. It's just always been something that spoke to me more than any other genre.
And now you're getting these recognitions from the biggest names in country, the CMT Awards, Breakthrough Female Video of the Year last year.
It's crazy. ACM nomination. I mean, it's nuts. And it's I was one of those kids who sat on the couch with my mom growing up watching the award shows, just obsessing over every little move. I remember so many speeches that I was obsessed with, like Blake Shelton's speech when he won. I think it was either Entertainer of the Year or New Artist. I can't remember what it was, but Blake Shelton won one year, and I always talk about how he, walked slowly up each step to say, I worked really hard to be here. I'm going to take my time when I win this award. And so I've just always loved the award shows and the recognition, and I've cared so much about it. So to get to be up there and accept an award and be in that moment, it kind of feels like I'm in like a simulation a little bit because I'm like, what is happening?
What dimension am I in?
Yeah,
for real?
no, literally, yeah, it's crazy. It's so special, and I'm honestly, I know what it takes to win those awards and to be a part of the voting process, and it takes a community rallying around you that believes in you. And so to me, that's all that says, is that the community of country music in Nashville believes in me and cares about what I'm doing and love me, and that's really that's everything. That's all you can ever ask for.
But also, we're seeing that people that you look up to so much, and like Taylor Swift, obviously talking about how Charlie Puth is so underrated, but now you're working with
it's all intertwined. It's
like,
crazy.
Hello? How did that link happen?
It was so weird, honestly. I feel like I keep saying that this song, All I Forgot with Joe Jonas, is like a hodgepodge of my favorite creatives that I never thought I'd work with, and now I am. It's crazy. This song, actually, it was sent to me by my manager. And I loved the song, and there were some like gaps in the song that they wanted somebody to top line over. So I was like, you know what, I'd love to. I'd love to write this. So I wrote a bridge on it. And the writer on it, his name's Jay. There's a lot of writers, but Jay Cash is one of the most amazing writers ever. He wrote Last Night for Morgan and among a million other hits. But he was the one that sent it over, and he was in the studio with Charlie Puth at the time working on his record, and he played it for Charlie, and Charlie was like, dude, I love this. This is so sick. Can I just throw my little flavor on it? And I was like, please, Charlie Puth, please add your little flavor on it. So he did, and he ended up co-producing it with Joey Moy, who's obviously iconic, legendary Joey Moy. And then Joe Jonas. We wanted to have a really cool pop feature on the song, and Joe came to mind, and we reached out, and he was like, absolutely, and now we're friends. And it's so crazy. All these names, I just sit back and go, what is happening?
It's like when you're saying this, it doesn't even sound real.
Right.
You're just like, oh, someone's in a room with someone, they like
and he liked the song, so he threw the thing on.
And
like
this person,
yes,
this person on. They said yes. Like,
and it's crazy because I'm not even just making it sound like that for whatever. Like legitimately, that is how it all happened. It was just like, this song is cool. This song is sick too. I'm gonna throw my voice on it. I'm gonna throw this on it, and it was just a collaboration of cool, multi-genred artists coming together to make something unique and cool. And I'm really fortunate that I got to be the artist on it, be the one that released it and put my name on it. So.
And I was on TikTok live right now when you came in, and they were like, "Oh, Joe came to perform with her in Nashville."
He did, yes.
How was that?
It was crazy.
Like, how did you find that out?
I did, yeah. We were trying to figure out a good time to kind of premiere that song live for the first time together because we wanted to perform it together. Joe's truly an artist. Like even he and Nick and Kevin, all of their music tastes that they've been telling me about lately, I'm like, you guys really deeply care about music. Like you guys really, they know the underground stuff. Like they're just really phenomenal. And
like the album. I mean, my own fiance is like, I like the Jonas Brothers now. But yeah, it's crazy.
It's so good. So they're all just like truly, they've always been talented, but they've grown into be even just more talented, just artists. Like they truly are. Obviously socialites in their own right, but massive, just talented artists. But we were talking about doing something live at some point because we wanted to premiere it live. And he was filming a movie in Toronto and then Amsterdam. And so we kind of flew up to meet each other throughout that process. But we landed on this CRS, this country radio seminar in Nashville. And I was like, it's not my show. It's like a presentation of, new faces in country. It was me, Zach Top, Dasha, Warren Ziders. It was Drew Baldridge. It was a really fun show. But he was like, dude, I'm there. Like, absolutely, I'll fly in just for it. So he flew in just to perform with me at CRS. So we'll see, maybe another show at some point soon. Yeah. We're both in New York this week, so we'll see. But
I know. Yeah. He's busy too. Did you hear about Jonas Con?
Yeah, he was telling me about it.
You gotta pull up.
I mean, hey, I'm down. I was like, I was a fan.
People from all over the world are coming.
It's crazy.
To Jersey for it.
It's nuts. I'm like, when is it?
It is the weekend of March 20. That weekend, the March 20 something weekend. I'm like,
I hope I'm in town.
My closest cousin's wedding is in Mexico,
and you're like,
family. I'm like,
missing it.
Kidding?
Jonas Con. I know.
I'm so sad. I
priorities.
Wish.
No,
dude, why the same weekend?
I know.
But no, really cool that you get to do things like that. Now there's artists wanting to work with you.
Absolutely, it's huge. It's so cool, especially because like I mean, we all grew up loving the Jonas Brothers. Who didn't, right? I was always more of a Nick girl. Don't tell Joe.
Joe was my
but-
number one. So when I saw you had outlines, you took
I
it.
know. I told him that too. I was like, dude, I hate to say it. We were doing an interview a couple days ago, and I was like, I was always kind of a Nick girl, but don't get mad at me. And he was like, it's fine. I'll take sloppy seconds. It's fine. I was like, all right. But yeah,
Have you hung
it's
out
so
with
cool.
Nick, though?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh,
We
okay,
all hung
okay.
out in Toronto when they were filming the
Yeah.
movie a little bit. They're all so drastically different. And
I know that's what I was
they're
gonna
so
say.
fun.
They're very different.
Yeah, Frankie's so cool too. Like, I mean, everybody, their family is just really, really sick. But again, it's like the Jonas Brothers, and it's so weird too walking in to the room, hanging out with them, because I want to fangirl because obviously they're the Jonas Brothers, but they're so normal and cool that it doesn't make you feel like that. Does it make sense? Yeah, it's really cool. It's exciting.
It is. And obviously you just brought it up, your show at Gramercy. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Huge.
Thank
Bring
you.
country to New York City.
Thank you.
How does that feel, being able to bring your music, country music, like all over that you've been?
It's special. It's really special. And I think, honestly, I was nervous to play in New York for the first time because obviously it's not, the biggest country market. There's just a crazy plethora of different kinds of music in the city. And it's also some of the best music in the world in the city. So it's pressure to play in the city. But we played, I think it was Mercury Ballroom, I want to say. Was that the venue? Mercury Ballroom. And I swear, one of my favorite shows of the entire tour. They showed up, they sold it out, they cared, they sang along, they knew every single word, the deep cuts, they knew everything. And so to me, it kind of was like, man, if you believe what you're singing, it will translate and they will care. It doesn't matter the genre. And that's my takeaway from New York, is that they just care about good music and they want to believe you and what you're saying. And so I'm pumped. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what Gramercy is all about and have the crowd. Hopefully, big shoes to fill from the last show, but I think it's going to be a really fun night.
Well, it's so cool that you say that and recognize that, because in New York, the crowd doesn't play. Like, if they don't vibe with something, or
They
if
won't.
they don't like respect something, it's so hard for someone just to go to a show here in New York.
Right.
Like, the buses are expensive, Ubers,
100%.
trains, people come from all the boroughs.
If they don't
so
care.
when you get that love, it's not an easy city to just, they don't grant you that. But then
100%.
when you receive that.
Yeah, that's what I think the biggest thing, especially entering into this next era for album 2, if I don't believe what I'm saying on stage, then they won't either. And that's the through line of it all, truly. And I know I kind of just said that too, but even in Nashville, my headline show in Nashville, there was a massive snowstorm. Massive for Nashville. Let me clarify. It was like 2 inches, but like for Nashville, that's a big deal. Everybody shuts down the grocery stores and it's like craziness. But I was like, guys, should we reschedule? I don't want to do that, but I feel like people aren't going to show up. And they showed the hell up. They showed up and they cared, and they got their cars out of their snowy driveways and they made it there. And so I think that's the bottom line, is that if you don't have that relationship with them, / you don't create music that really just means something to you, then they won't care. They won't show up. So I'm going to keep trying to do that.
Keep going, keep trying. You're working on album 2, you said?
I am, yes.
So how is that going?
It's so much fun. Like I said earlier, I'm working with Dan Huff on it, who's legendary. He just did the Rascal Flatts Jonas Brothers song with them. So we all were joking about like the Spider-Man meme of like, are we all working together? Like, what's happening? But yeah, it's really special. And again, I think my debut album, Shot in the Dark, I'm so proud of that project, and I always will be. But I think a lot of that project I was writing for what I think everybody else wanted to hear from me. I was like, oh, what can I write? What would be a good radio song? What would work for this? What would be this? What would be that? What would so-and-so want to hear? And this album feels truly like I'm writing for what I would want to hear, like what I would want to listen to top down. And every song I've been creating feels brutally honest and like a different chapter of who I am.
Wow.
And I'm also just older than I was back when I released my first debut album only a year and a half ago, but still it feels like a different era. So yeah, it's been fun to get to work with Dan, because it's a new take on the creative aspect of the studio, but also new writers that I'm working with. And most of the songs that I love that I'm creating are from writing retreats, where we just go to a house somewhere in another state and just sit for a week and create and drink too much wine and share real stories. And that's a different level of writing than what I'm used to. So it's just real and it's raw and it's fun, and I'm excited for everybody to hear it.
Yes. So do we have dates? How's that looking?
Stay tuned. We're still in the process of cutting as we speak.
Okay.
So I'll probably release as we go.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as release, it'll be this year.
Wow.
I just don't know what month. So could be soon, could be later. We don't know. But
Okay, before or after Cardi B? That's how we're gonna.
that's the metric here. That's the metric here. Pre-Cardi or post-Cardi?
Get her on the album, actually.
Let's go. Hit me up.
Wow, so excited for Gramercy. You're still on tour, still working on cutting the album,
Yeah.
and that those dates will come out too. What about some people that you're so excited to be in rooms with now? I mean, as you're growing, any artist that stands out to you? I always like to ask this question. If you can ask one artist a question,
Ooh,
who would it be, and what do you think that you would ask them?
man. If I could ask any artist a question
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Ooh. Got my wheels turning now. I think I would ask. I've never said this before, but I think I'm just gonna roll with it. I would ask Chris Stapleton how he stayed so true to what exactly he does. I feel like he's just the GOAT in everything he does. He's magic in any room he walks into, and he started as a songwriter in Nashville. He wrote songs for, years and years and years and years without being an artist, and the town begged him to be an artist. And I think to me, he's never, ever, ever strayed away from what he does, what he does best, and what he knows he loves to do. And I think it's hard as an artist, especially a people pleaser like myself. I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. I'm a big people pleaser. I think it's easy to go, well, should I do this or should I do that? But they want this and this person's doing that. And it's like Chris has just kept his blinders on the whole time and done what he does best. And I'd love to just ask him that question. Yeah, that's kind of spontaneous, but I would probably go him or Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran is my top want to collaborate with, by far, dream collaboration. I just love what he does. I've always just loved what he does and what he brings to a room. And I've heard that he's just the most wonderful, kind person, and that's sometimes hard to keep in this industry for that long, especially. So he's my top collaborator for sure, my top dream collaboration.
Have you met Chris Stapleton already?
I haven't.
Okay.
Chris or Ed have not met them yet, so fingers crossed. Maybe at some point down the road.
Ed is really nice. One
Yeah.
of my first solo interviews was with him.
Yeah,
At one of his arena shows, and he makes you feel like a best friend.
exactly.
And he's just so nice. And I was so nervous, and I didn't even know what else to ask. He was
Right.
like, "Are we done? You have some other questions? Why don't you
He's
ask
like,
me
"Come
this?"
on."
I'm like, he was
Yeah.
telling me what to ask him.
Ask me this. Yeah, that's my thing. Is I think he just feels so real to me. Not that other artists don't. I think his music has always really spoken to me. Like I love Tennessee. He has so many songs that I'm just obsessed with. But he just as a person feels like somebody I would learn a lot from as a friend, as just a mentor in the industry. I'd kill to get to just write with him. Maybe not even put out a song, but just get to be in a room and learn from him. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he's friends with Charlie Puth, so
I
you're not too
mean,
far. You're not
Plant
too
the
far.
seeds. Plant the seeds. I also love Charlie. Charlie's phenomenal. He's wonderful.
great.
So. We'll
And
see.
at this moment right now, when you're just thinking about what you've been through to get to here where you are, how does it feel to be Ashley Cooke?
Oh, I mean, it feels the same way that it did, when I was a kid, in a really fun way. Like, I think even I was asked the question recently, what inspires me? And when I was thinking about it, my younger self is what inspires me, truly, because I think I don't feel far away from that girl. I did for a season of my life, I think, but now it's like, if I could just like hug her and tell her, hey, you know that song that you're obsessed with by Kelly Clarkson? You're going to perform on her show in a couple years. You know that song that you're obsessed with from, Taylor Swift? Like, you're going to cover that on your social media and somebody's going to pick it up on a platform. Like, the Jonas Brothers that you are obsessing over the TV from?
We're friends now.
That we're friends and we're on a song together. Like, I
They
think,
pulled it to our show to perform.
yeah, I
That's
think,
crazy.
to answer what is it like to feel like Ashley Cooke, I'm like, it just feels like me. And that sounds so generic, but also it's a cool place to be at, to get to feel so truly myself through all of this process. I'm not like putting on a front of any kind for anything.
Well, you've seen people like that. You've, especially like in the house and on TikTok,
Right.
you've had relationships with people that
Right.
were that.
And there is a coping mechanism in a lot of this to have that, to have your Sasha Fierce, if you will. You're kind of, Tatiana for Tate McRae. Like you're kind of like stage character, if you will. I've never had that. Maybe for better or for worse. I don't know. Stay tuned to find out if that's for worse too. But yeah, it just feels like me through and through. And that's something that I'm really proud to stand on in this era. So yeah.
Yes. Well, congratulations. Thank you so much for
Thanks.
taking the time to
Thank
come
you.
share your story with us. We can't wait to see you at the Gramercy and
fun. I'll see you
more
there.
collabs with Joe Jonas, please.
Well, stay tuned. We'll see.
Thank you, girl.
Thank you.
From the top of the Empire State Building.
Z100.